What's up everybody, this is Scott and welcome back to another video. One thing I got to get off my chest is I don't really understand why there's so much hate when it comes to the notch on a phone. That thing has been talked about so much, and obviously for the Google Pixel 3 XL, it is an extremely hot topic. So I have a couple things that I want to get off my chest, and I'm going to do that today with the help from my friend Franklin Roosevelt. Okay. So I'm going to touch on the Franklin Roosevelt part here in a minute, but there's something I want to get off my chest, and it's for all notches related to all phones, and that includes Apple. I think the notch thing is completely overplayed. I personally don't think the notch is a really big deal. I have an iPhone X and the notch is just a non-issue for me. And some of the reasons are just as follows. One, front-firing speakers are absolutely a must, and I can attest to that because some of the other Nexus devices that I had in the past had the bottom speaker, and I just didn't like that because when I would hold it in, I guess hamburger style, I'd be covering the one bottom piece and then I couldn't hear anything. It was just more of an inconvenience than anything. So I like front-firing speakers. The notch actually gives the ability for manufacturers to put stereo speakers, obviously where the grill is at the bottom and up at the top where the notch is, so I have front-firing speakers. That's a big deal to me. I would have a notch all day long on any device, doesn't have to be Google, just so I can have front-firing speakers. The second thing, and Greg talks about this a lot, this is clearly a bridge or a potential bridge to what you could see and expect in the future. The whole full glass thing on the front, we're not quite ready there yet from a mainstream perspective. There are a few devices that have it, but those devices also have some limitations and also some kind of quirky cameras that pop up in and out, like the Oppo or I think it's the Nex or something like that, where the one little pops up on the front or the whole device slides. The more things mechanical, the more things that could break, and no thank you. That's just not something I want to get down on. So again, full potential to go to the full front glass where the thumbprint is underneath the glass, even though I think that's overrated too. And actually on Sunday, Russell Hawley wrote an article specifically about the average consumer does not care about the notch. Can't say this enough, the notch does not matter to the mainstream amount of folks. When you ask folks, do you even care about the notch? Most likely they're going to say no. There are going to be some that do say yes. Most say no, and the reason? They want the bigger screen and the smaller footprint, and the notch gives you the ability to do that. So if they want to maintain, I don't know, a footprint that's roughly the size of an iPhone X, but get more screen, kind of a no-brainer to me, and especially when you get used to the notch in approximately 38 seconds. Okay, now I mentioned Franklin Roosevelt before and the dime. I'm going to take a chance to do this in somewhat scientific and why I don't think the notch on the Google Pixel 3 XL is one, that big, and two, that big a deal. So what I tried to recreate was basically another image of a person that held a Pixel 3 XL with their thumb in frame. And then I put my finger in frame, and I have pretty sausage-like thumbs, and then I laid a dime on top. You can kind of see right now, I tried to recreate it, and again, this is not exact measurements or anything like that. So even with the dime going all the way to the edge, when you compare that to what you see on screen right now with the Google Pixel 2 XL, the notch isn't really going that much further down than what's already being hidden by the bars at the top for the Google Pixel 2 XL. But what you don't see is the fact that you gain all of the real estate around the dime to use for screen or notifications or whatever. You just get more screen real estate. That's obviously true because the Google Pixel 3 XL, the rumored specs are a 2960 by 1440 display, so it's slightly larger than the Google Pixel 2 XL, I suppose, and that's probably got something to do with the notch that it does or doesn't have. I don't know. But again, in the grand scheme of things, when you start to compare it to like the size of a dime and you already don't have some of the space at the top of a Google Pixel 2, for me, I just don't think that the notch is that big. Everybody talks about, oh God, it's the biggest notch they've ever seen. It's really not that much larger than the notch that you see in other devices. It's just not something that you're accustomed to seeing, I suppose. So the TLDR in that is I just don't think that the whole bigger notch thing is that big of a deal because I just don't think that the notch is that big compared to the real estate that you're getting overall. Again, going back to the average consumer, because Google's not always going to all these hyper tech nerds like myself, they don't care about the notch. So it's a non-issue to the regular mainstream consumer because they maintain the same footprint from a Google Pixel 2 XL, but get all of the new goodies that the Google Pixel 3 XL will probably have. And let's not get it twisted. The Google Pixel 2 XL arguably has the best camera out of any Android phone, probably still to this day, with maybe the exception of the Note 9 and definitely the exception of the P20 Pro, because that thing is fantastic when it comes to photos. But if somehow they can take a Google Pixel 3 XL and put a, I don't know, a better camera in it, or something along like a bigger footprint of the screen, but the same footprint size of a Google Pixel 2 XL, yeah, go ahead and sign me up for that. Oh, and I also get to maintain front-firing speakers, and the fact that in some of these leaks there are now 2 cameras on the front, and it was arguably already the best selfie camera that they had in Android. So yeah, it just sounds to me like it's an actual upgrade, and the notch is seriously a non-issue. Can we also try to talk about the fact that Google is trying to bamboozle everybody or pull a fast one on some folks? There are some people that are out there right now that's kind of talking about it. It got a ton of play over this past weekend, and I'm just not buying it, mostly because I try to think about it from the side of the fact that something like that would cost such a tremendous amount of money. Would it be cool to say that Google finally got you or got some of the other people? I suppose, but what really are the benefits of doing something like that? So Google's in the business of making money. Something like that would take just a tremendous amount of money to do, because you'd be talking about a very small, finite amount of pieces of hardware that you would make, only to potentially throw off the scent of others for I'm not sure what gain you'd be getting out of that, especially since those are going to be so geared towards the really technical, deep, nerdy folks like me. The average mainstream consumer doesn't care. They just don't. That's just the way that it is. The notch propelling us to the fact that we might go to notchless, I guess, suppose next year or maybe the year after that. But even if we don't go to that, the benefits that you get by having a notch, again, those better cameras, dedicated space for a front-firing speaker, that to me is just the benefit that I get from it, and I just deal with a notch that I never really cared about to begin with. So that's it. That's all I have. There is going to be a ton of content that's coming out in the next coming weeks. Super exciting times for us here at Technically Speaking. Join us for our live shows on Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern Time, or the time zone in Ohio, and we will see you again next time. Oh, I should probably also talk about that whole like, share, subscribe, thumbs up, leave a comment below. Ring the bell, send a carrier pigeon. Yeah, do all those things too. And we'll still see you next time.